Hello everyone, welcome to the Pushing Hustle podcast. This is your host Ash. Sometimes running isn't about feeling great or chasing a PR. Sometimes it's about dragging your body through a moment when your brain is telling you to quit. That's what this episode is about. Am I dead? No. Because that's what it comes down to sometimes. You hit that wall, the pain kicks in, you are wrecked. And then there is this simple checklist. Am I dead? No. Can I walk? Yes. Can I crawl? If I have to, that's the ultra mindset right there. Brutal honesty. Yeah, so this one is not about glory. It's about finding a way forward when everything hurts. Walking when you can't run, smiling in the rain, keeping it simple. Am I dead? No. Then get the hell up and move. And in that note, please let me introduce to our guest today. Here is Chris. Hey, Chris, welcome to the podcast, and it's nice to have you here.
It's my first one.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I've known you for a little bit because I followed you for a while. So can you please give a quick introduction? Who is Chris?
Yes, grants couch to 50K. I'm just a kind of ordinary bloke who decided to start running just after the pandemic, end of the pandemic, and got the bright idea of just keep on going up to an ultra marathon. Yeah, it sounded like a nice little tagline, and I thought it'd be a good challenge to keep me going, keep me interested in it beyond the 5K. Because I've travelled a fair bit. I've done expeditions to the Amazon and things, so I'm quite good at that. Doing something challenging that people don't expect you to do, and just a great determination to go through it. So it's a challenge. And, I did first ultra in May 22, and then I spent a year just doing target races, 5K, 10K, marathon. I quite like fast runs, but the rest of them I'm too fussed about. But I like being outdoors, like long journeys and being out in the hills and testing yourself. It's become more of who am I, what can I achieve? That's what it's been about.
So you talked about that you started running from the pandemic, like everybody else. I think most of the people I talked on this podcast is like,
Yeah.
I started when there was a pandemic in 2020. So I think that is the origin of most of the runners here in the podcast. So what made you decide to do the ultras? And you said you have done so much of them because you started with probably from cows to 5K and cows to 10K, cows to 51, then marathon.
A running channel about a guy who's doing ultra. So I was doing week 3 or something. Couch to 5K. And he had started running in a similar physical state as me. And it was like, oh, there's something in that. So just went straight from, I applied for it before I did finish the couch to 5K and just got a online training from the sort of work backwards basically. So their training plan and then just filled in the gaps, build myself up from 3 times a week to doing 6 runs a week. And through from there. It's not how I advise people to do it, but it was a journey, it's a spirit. It certainly ticked my challenge.
So at what point you realized that I want to do ultras? But before that, why did you start running in the pandemic? What was the reason for you to get started?
It was a weight, like as part of a fitness trial, doing more weights, but did a bit of running. I actually applied to London Marathon back then, got accepted, and then had an injury in my Achilles tendon for well over a year. At that point, I got to see it's worth to see, so trade private, so I let that go. And then did no running until the pandemic, and like I was in the gym. I was doing powerlifting in the gym prior to that, years prior, and the gym shut, and I carried on either as a powerlifter and piled on the weight, and then had a couple of attempts to try and get out running, and then downloaded the and just went through step by step, build up. It's up to
And how did it felt? Because when you obviously start from cows to 5K, then it's basically it's like very very basic. So how did it feel? Can you remember
it.
when you first time finished that 5K? You were able to run and finish it, and like what was that general feeling?
It's a bit of a buzz. Yeah. I did get under try to get to do it under 30 minutes. I never made the 30 minute mark. I did what the app said and then went out just to do 5K and just done it. It's- So I used to run like 5 miles when I was 29, 5 mile loop. Like it was just not doable at all. So over a decade older. And once you put it aside the ego, this is what I used to do. I should be able to do it. It's just like, where am I now? Achieve the goal. There's the first run on it. Yeah. I can run continuously 40 minutes. You can extend that, push that.
And at what point did it escalate from 5K to 10K? Or was it continuous that after you finish the 5K, you're like, okay,
If you can.
oh,
I didn't know. One of those things that it was a challenge, and I knew in theory at least I could walk it. So it was focusing and just try to increase the. I'd already discovered high base running as opposed to distance based running. So the switch was from the couch to 5K, then on to it started off as half hour easy runs and then hour easy runs. And they get fitter faster. Your distances start coming up. I still had set distances. I still often work to set distances at the weekend, my long runs, just as a gauge. But I do prefer the hour long easy runs, or I now do stride at the end, so you get a bit of speed work. When you do constant easy runs, especially when you do the big long distances. Training for the Glasgow to Edinburgh, my last training run was at 60K. So there's 100, easy 100K running in that week. It was nearly all easy. That like reminds your legs that they go fast at some point. Yeah, because it's easy for your form to break down. You just plod it all the time. So have a stride to the end. Just constantly keeps that in me. I find it makes your legs work better. I was just relying on a speed work session.
makes sense because your legs are tired. And then when you add in strides, and that is just going to be like a simulation of you trying to just run faster. And it's probably harder because I cannot imagine doing strides when I'm running 30K or 40K, 50K. It's going to be harder.
I think one of the big changes for me with training was learning to run with tired legs. That like doing strides at the end of a long run when your legs are tired, and you really focusing on form because you're trying to go fast. You're not going that fast. It's not the same as if you're doing your speed work, but it's as fast as you can. And that focus on form helps because you'll have times out on a race where you're in your dark place and you can't focus properly. It's like that. So, like going legs work, focus on your form helps bring you into the moment rather than worry how long you've got left in the race or how much water you've got, water bottle, or whatever. Keeps you right in that moment. It's a good skill to have.
I've never thought of that way. I may have to try it for my next ultra because this is for this one it's too late, but
It is a big place.
yeah, it's too close. And I don't think I can do it right now. But I'll probably try that on next one because that makes sense. I've learned so much from this training block and I know all the shortcomings that I've done. I have not done a lot of running in the tired leg. I did few times where I did like a 25K and then next day I went in and I did like 11K, 12Ks. But I know that I need to do this all the time, regardless of how much I run. So
Yeah.
I think this is going to be my focus on the next training block that I'm training for the 100K next year. But for this year, it's already too late to implement anything because nothing's gonna
Yeah.
change. But I like what you suggested is running on the tired legs and doing the strides at the end. I think I'm going to try that in the next one. Can you take us back to the Lakeland 50? What clicked you on that day, on the course, mentally, physically, emotionally? Because running a 50 miler or 50 kilometer was that?
Yeah, it's 50 miles
Okay.
to Lake Lachova, so it's confusing at times. Like you come into an aid station and ask how long is the next one, and you do mental maths to work out what your pace seems to be meant to be getting. But it's weird, especially because I started the race aiming for a sub 16 in order to qualify for the Lakeland 100. Found out when I got to Hughesdale. So I got to the first checkpoint fairly rapidly. Yeah, 5.16. It wasn't hammering it, just comfortable pace. And then you come up that and you go up to the Hughesdale Pass, which is this steep, constant slope. Everyone blows up on there pretty much. And I realized that at that point that I didn't have the fitness to do that. You're doing that section after a whole day and night on the Vales with 100. So if I'm struggling now, then I'm not going to, the years not going to be enough to get the fitness up to do that. So I went down to the next checkpoint and I found the girl I was supposed to be running with, they had heart issues. I think she had a virus, but like, they rushed her off and she was there all white and shaky. So that kind of messed me up a little bit. Just leaving her. No, she's in good hands, but leaving her and then heading off, thinking it's quite serious race. And then kind of settle in. So I knew that wasn't going to make the sub 16. So it's just make sure I get that. Just take it easy. But it's 23 hours to like 50. So you've got a lot of ups and downs, especially in the middle of the night where you're on your own. There's no one in sight. You can't see any headlights or anything. Just you in darkness. But I've spent quite a lot of time in the Lake District hiking. Although I didn't remember this area in particular. As we came up with the last checkpoint, come up, and it's like, oh, I know where I am. I recognize this area. And little things like that help. It's like just remind you that you're somewhere you love to be. And I think that's the big thing for me with the ultimates. It's beautiful places and like places that I enjoy being. And I'm doing the races for the challenge and to see what I'm capable of. Because I never, when I started out, 50k was that kind of unattainable goal that I aimed for. It's always pushing it on further. What I can do is what I am capable of. And at some point, I'm going to hit a barrier, and I might not ever get past that barrier. But as it is, I've achieved it, and it was an amazing place to be. Yeah, at least from there, time and time again. But yeah, it's the people as much as anything. Everyone at that race, I've never had a bad ultra, and the staff always. But the sense of community around the lake, in particular, is phenomenal, and everyone says, unless someone's like properly in their pain cave, speak to them, and there's always someone who'll catch you up, slow down a bit, with you for a little bit, cheer you along. It's so particular in like but the lake in particular, because it's been going so long, and all the volunteers at previous runners and people come back and do it again and again. He's managed to develop it.
I think the ultra running community is nicer, So far, what I've gathered, like being, as you have seen, like most of the people that I've interviewed are the people who do all these ultra running, like the Cocodona and like all the other races, and I just found that it's so nice to be around the ultra runners because it's not about ego or who can run what distance and who can run faster marathon or PB or whatever. It's just about, oh, you're doing 50K, you can do it, right? You're doing 100K, you can do it. Everybody's so supportive and
ultra. I did 50K, and we had like the hundreds, 100 milers, 100 kilometers. I think 50. I can't remember. At the time bit, so they're coming roughly the same sort of time. I'm coming up this hill, and I've got a front runner from, I think it's the 100 miler, called me up, had a quick chat, and then ran up there. It was nothing. Uh, it's amazing what's in the elites. So you don't see all that often, but you do. So it's not that they're faster than I am by a long shot, but they're not fast. They're not like Kipchoge fast, but they're just so consistent. They're just steady pace. But kind of slowing her down, be away sort of thing. But she still takes the time to speak to me when she's up there at the front with the race. It's great community. Most people, it's a couple of people online I've seen gatekeeping. Should be able to run a marathon. I think everyone I've actually met has been super supportive of people on the journey. I might ask you what you're doing it, but it's like, keep going, you make it. Just keep going. Then forward progress. I've heard that so many times. It's just forward progress. Keep on going, even if you have debates with yourself about whether you should give up or not. Just keep going. Keep walking while you're doing it. Keep yourself going. If you stop, then you might.
I think that's the mantra: is forward is progress. Either if you're walking or if you're jogging or you're sprinting in ultras, I think that's the thing. Is it doesn't matter. Yeah, as long as you are walking. Yeah, and I agree. Like what you said, it's so nice. The community is nice because in the marathon world, and where everything is about speed, everybody wants to chase sub 4, sub 3, sub 245, and like everybody wants to be faster. And in this, it's time is irrelevant, and it's about the journey, and it's about like how much you can endure and how much you can go through. So it's like a totally different experience for me too. Like having these road running mindset for so long, where like I said, like when I started training for this trail run race that I got into, at the beginning it was so hard for me to walk because I have never ran at this place in my life. Like it's like 2.5 minutes slower than I usually run, and it's just like, oh my god. Then you walk on the hill and just like, oh god, this is so tough. And once I gradually got into this mindset that it's okay to walk, because I don't know if you have talked to like other road runners, and it's just like we don't want to run because it's who runs, like who walks when they're running a marathon. So the mindset is different. It's such a two different world. Now as I have experienced a little bit of it, and as I've been from the marathon world and road running world and coming into this ultra, it's like so different. Community is different, and the support you receive and everything is so different in different ways. And now going back to you, right? So you also did the Glasgow to Edinburgh.
I stayed to Edinburgh.
And
Just at 50 miles. Still PB'd that. I had a whole bunch of PBs on that. But it was, the weather got to me. It was this storm, sort of a storm, and the train home was cancelled, and had to luckily got on the last train back to Dundee. But it was an important thing to make sure you're training for the race that you run it. Because I took it, there's a cut off that 15 and a half hours, I think it's about 16 hours, something like that. I didn't realise that it was a progressive cut off. So you had to be doing like a sub 12-hour pace to get to the first checkpoint in time. And then as you got further along, they extended it because obviously you'd actually get more tired. So I started the race looking at sub 12, and I was holding that quite nicely. And then the rain was starting to get to me. So I'd programmed in my watch a pace pro coursing for doing a sub 15, I think sub 15, so there's a bit of a gap. So I stopped and to use the toilet, stayed in the wall for a little bit, and change over to a pace pro strategy. Headed off, still oblivious to the time constraints because I've been well under on the rest of it. And as we came to, I think it was check 4, they were running to us to get us to hurry up and get over the line in time for the cutoff. So I'd settled down at that point into a nice plod, And then suddenly you're sprinting in the middle of a race to the checkpoint, and my hamstring just blew up. They just weren't happy with that. So I managed to reach the next checkpoint just in time, with very little running. It was mostly walking, because I'm trying to walk out the ramps at that point. And then got through that. The sweeper had come up and had a chat. Expected me, he said, never expected me to make it. Yeah, you try. Let you try. I sort of got the second wings, third wing, fourth. Whenever I could, I ran a little bit. And then it was a half marathon between that checkpoint and the 50-mile checkpoint. And yeah, my legs just had it at that point. Yeah. Got a few times I managed to run, but the rest of it was just walking it. I slowed right down to 60-minute kilometers at one point, and walked over a cobble. I walked over a cobble bridge, and that unevenness of the cobbles was enough to set. I had muscles I didn't even know I had in my hip when it just bad up, and I had to sit down because I was going to fall into the canal. But I'd still pushed on. I wasn't sure. I knew because the 50-mile, the Lakeland was so long that I'd probably get a PB, but I was surprised actually at even with earlier how good a time I got amateur off my PB. And but it's the first time my legs hurt so much. And because you hear talk from the elites and things, dealing with the pain. And I thought I had, until that point, I never knew that I could still move my leg with that much pain. Every muscle was just exhausted. Literally every single muscle in my leg exhausted at that point. Getting out of they took us to the finish line in the ambulance, not because I need an ambulance, just that was the last one. So the ambulance went back to hand back up the bracelet, and getting out of the ambulance, just that step of getting out of the van basically was interesting. Just trying to kind of hang off the door to lower myself down. I think if I just dropped to the normally would have been on my face.
And how did that felt? Because obviously you wanted to do and complete the whole race, right? And when we go into the race, that's always our main priority, is to try to complete it. Were you disappointed when you were when you have to DNF after? But
it was hard. Yeah. I knew I wasn't going to be able to complete it. I knew they wouldn't let me because I was so far behind. There's no way I was close to the cutoff. So that I think Ian walked the entire route of that. Get out. But I knew 10k after the checkpoint, it was like a blast car park, take us off, make it to the next checkpoint. And then that was a hard 10k. Probably part of the reason why I slowed down so much, because your motivation is going to slug you through. But it's the right thing to do. And you've got this back and forth all the time in your head. And it's a struggle. It's a really hard decision to make. And at the point where you get there, I want to say I'll carry on. I'll crawl about to do. But it was hard. It didn't really kick in until the next day, because the distance to getting home and just took all my brain power that I had left. Because I'd left my phone, I'd knocked my phone at some point, and it turned the torch on. When I realised I only had about 5% battery left for train tickets on the phone, so I had to switch it off and just hope that it started up again when I got to the train station. So I couldn't organise switch the money about so that I could get a hotel. I needed to stay in Edinburgh or anything. So there's all this madness going on in my head at the time. Next day, I wake up, you can barely move still, and I didn't make it. That's when what's the alternative? Yeah, I mean, even though after you go pushed it, what's the thing would I be in now? You have to start thinking these things through, because I did 5 ultras and then I had the arc of attrition in the January afterwards. So in a 12-month period, I had 6 ultras. I'd nursed an injury through most of those 5 ultras that year, and I still got this one coming. So then my plan was to drop the training right back and build up to give the knee time to heal. So if I pushed it, I might have been able to force myself across the line, but who knows what state I would have been in, how much it would have set me back. So when you start rationalizing these things, start thinking it through, it becomes easier. But it's still, I don't think it's ever an easy decision, because I had to be in at the arbitration as well. And that was, it's hard. Like, they would allow us to go to the next checkpoint, because I was still within the time, but I wouldn't make it to the next checkpoint now. It just went quite badly at that. So it will be worse. But once you hand over that track, it feels shit. It's not good. It's not a good feeling. It's the right thing to do. It's always, I think it's always hard to say, because your mind is doing it. It's what you want to do. And to choose not to, it's slightly different when it's medical. Having to, I could push it, but I'm not going to make it. You're going to feel like you let yourself down a little bit. You've got to move on. You can't sit on that. You always get the kind of most race blues anyway. But don't beat yourself up. If you DNS, you come sort of next time. Plan for next time. Get your head in that. But get yourself ready. Go.
Is that how your mindset works? Because you talked about whenever you DNF, then you always start to think, at least get some positive out of it, because it's obviously a very tough situation where you are like, you have put in months to train and to do well. So is that how you do? Is just think ahead, think about the risks coming up, because it's obviously the hard decision, like you said, and DNFing is not easy because you have to make decision at that point, and it's probably ultimately the last decision that we want to do it, because obviously we want to finish it.
Yeah.
So is that what you always do? Try to think ahead?
It's, we're going to talk more about the knee. Like, having been out with my knee for the best part of the year, it's not injuring yourself is I think, like, it's always hard to say this is it for this race, but it's on next year. You can apply for it next year. Lakeland we had to DNF at the Lakeland last time. As soon as it came through, I put myself in the ballot ready for next year, even though at that point I wasn't ready, but I can come back to it. You can always come back to a race. Whereas you can't always come back from injury. So my current mindset is very much, it's much more risk averse than I certainly was 2 years ago. But yeah, a DNF is always going to be hard. It's a better thing to do a lot of the time. If you can make it to the end, then I'll push myself much harder in a race than I would in training, because the race is kind of the important thing.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a point where, like, if you absolutely in the after attrition, I knew I wasn't going to be close to making the cut off the next checkpoint. I think so. I would have gone another 11 kilometers, I think it was, on a bad knee with 11 kilometers of impact. Either was walking, and that would cause more damage, but still no gain. So that's an easy fix. If you're in the same as the Glasgow, Edinburgh, I knew I was up to cut off. So it would have been nice to spend the full 57 miles. Don't get me wrong. There was a part of me who was there, but you're not going to get a medal at the end of it. All you get is going to pack up and appreciate the distance. With the Lakeland, that was hard. Although they were willing to let me go on if I felt I could. And I knew I couldn't, because I just walked down very, very slowly to it, struggling the whole way. Deep fell on with one of the pole because I was that unstable. But there's a little voice in your head that goes, if I just ignore it and try, it's I've got 24 hours to beat it. It's fine.
It's
There's a bit of debate there. When you know you can make it and the cut off, it's a different conversation. But it's always the best thing to do. If you know you're not going to make it because you're going to do something, or you just fitness isn't good enough, I break yourself, then DNF can be the best decision. But I am generally of the mindset, if I can make it, I will try and make it.
That is com-
And I sprint finish races, even though I've run 50 miles, I'll sprint to the finish, just get that last burst of energy. If you haven't given you what, why not?
I think that's the common trend with everybody is the whether it is a marathon or 10K or I mean 5K is always sprinting, but all the races that we want to always try to finish in a high, where you were at least even though you have to
Yeah.
walk a lot in ultras, everybody try to finish it and try to sprint all the way at the end. As you have done 6 ultras, right? You said you have done 6 ultras with different experiences. Some of them has been DNF, some of you PB, some of you crossed it. What has been your best moments in terms of fueling, mindset, pacing? Is there something else that made that ultra best for you?
The Glasgow of Edinburgh is this kind of really weird thing because like the training block to it way better than any training block I've ever done. And I've got a lot of focus on the gym. It pays dividends. And I know runners don't like to go to the gym, but going to the gym, getting strong, helps massively. But like my pacing strategy at the beginning, I felt I settled in a groove, run walking. It's definitely more running than walking. It's just anytime there's a niggle, just walk it out. So it doesn't get any worse, don't aggravate it. And I was on pace for a sub 12 hour, and which would have been a massive PB. It knocked off PB for most of my distances up in 5K. And I was comfortable. It was nice and happy. Played well. The weather was horrendous. That got in my head. That's something. That's something key with ultra running. It's you're going to have down times. Not let things get into your head too much. Try to stay in the moment and enjoy. And remember why you're there. You're there to experience the race. There's a reason that you do a 50-mile race as opposed to the 50-mile training. It's because there's something about being in a race. It's a good experience to be in a race. And did come out with PB, DNF, and yeah, it's like the fuel was on point there. For me, I'm a larger guy. I need to take on quite a lot of calories. So my first ultra marathon, my 50K, I burnt 10,000 calories just on the run, which I tried to take on board because at that point I wasn't aware of nuances around fueling. It was just like lots of sugar, not protein bars, like the mixed up bars and things to get them protein on board. And I tried to take on several thousand calories and ended up feeling like shit. Your stomach doesn't like it. I've got into quite a good routine where I have a Velo 4 bars and I rarely use gels anymore. I've started using like this normal sweets that they're cheap. It's the sugar. You're making sure you eat something like proper at least once an hour. I do about every 20 minutes. I'll fuel to keep. I've done glucose sensors to see how my glucose is. It's interesting to do. I wouldn't advise everyone to do it. It's like for me, I enjoy the data, so it's interesting to see that it matched with the full set. So I'm good. Like some people are quite happy every half an hour. I need you topping up about every 20 minutes. So I'll have the Velo 4 bar and two lots of sugar to take on and go around, and that keeps me fairly level as a true. I'm at the aid station, trying to over. It's hard at Lakeland, but they're doing cheese toasties on the last aid station. You've only got 5K. I mean, it's 5K straight up and straight down the other side. So it's 5K, so you have to sit in 5 or 6 lead. But yeah, so people have dialed that in fairly well. Been consistent most of the time. I have a few issues sometimes when I've taken caffeine gels when I tend to do things, and that's thrown me a little out of whack. But it's fairly consistent. I dialed that in quite early as a basis. It seems to work quite well. I ate for 90 grams of carbs an hour, and I seem to absorb that fairly well. Yeah, does mean I've got to have like tailwind as well. It's quite a lot to pay for. Yeah. you just have as food. Yeah. But I know the elites take that sort of amount. I'm never intending uh, to be that level. So part of my day now is to try and get my weight down. It's obviously that has an impact on everything. So I'll have to adjust to, or try and just see whether I can reduce the amount of taking on. Because you've got to carry it, especially on ultras. You've got to make sure you've got it with you. You grab stuff at aid stations. Yeah, between aid stations, they tend to be quite far apart. And you're on your own. Do your own thing. Yeah. So you have to take a lot of calories on, then you've got to carry a lot of stuff with you. And the cumulative effect that if you can lose a few pounds, which means you save a few grams on what you carry, it suddenly becomes much easier to run.
Yes, definitely. I was talking to Tanya, I think. Yeah, I was talking to Tanya, and she did these brutal desert races where you have to carry everything on your own. So it's like a five
Yeah,
stage races on 5 different deserts, and you have to do 250 kilometer. The only thing you get is water. Out out of that,
yeah,
everything else you have to carry on your backpack. And she was talking about,
yeah.
and it was like a she was saying when she did the Cocodona, and that race felt like a luxury because they had like these miscellaneous like food buffet ice, and it's like a small luxuries, and she was talking about all this kind of thing. And it's so interesting, right? Because when we do these enormous races, and in some races there is nothing you can do, and she was eating this dehydrated food. And when you do these bigger races,
Yeah.
then you have like personalized chef, like everybody like get this 5-star chef, and they cook you everything, and the food is like glamorous and wonderful. It's like it's crazy, right? What we
That was amazing.
it's crazy what we do and what we go through with all these things. And like we talked about earlier, right? So when you have to drop out from the race, it's not a very easy moment because we have been training for months and months leading up to the race, and then even going up to that point, it's so brutal because you have given everything, and you, as a runner, you want to continue, obviously, right? But in some
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
some stages, right, when you are running and then the course is tough, and then you have these thoughts in your head like you cannot do it. It's like you're not built for this. And when those things come to your head, how do you break it down? Like, do you have a milestone or goal, like, okay, I'm gonna run up to this, or I'm gonna run up to the next aid station. I'm just gonna make one goal, and each aid station, each stop or whatever. Like, how do you break down when you are mentally in that phase where everything is dark?
Even but the best of runners will have a dark place at some point. Even not, it's inevitable. And first thing is it's the mantra of forward is progress. Yeah, just keep on moving. You don't stop. The only sign, but I'll have a few stops where I sat down, gather myself, had to tweet, then go on. It's worried a few people like things, but I'm in a good mindset when I do that. If I'm in a bad, keep moving. Just even if you go really slow, keep going. Or you go shake. So that's the first thing. It's don't stop. Bad headspace. That's it. You will just give up. Keep yourself going. Uh, and then I had a few times the Glasgow to Edinburgh is along the canal between Glasgow and Edinburgh. There's car parks at various stages, and if you can get to a road, you call for assistance. They come pick you up. Yeah. So it's with that one, it is just I'll get to the next car park and see how I feel then. The next car is I've always got it in the back of my head that it's easier for everyone involved if I'm pulling out at an A station. Because they back at the A station and go back to the start finish line. And I don't want to inconvenience people if I don't have to. That's certainly part of the reason I've not given up sometimes, because I want to obviously as little inconvenience as possible. And by the time you get to the aid station, usually your head's in it. If it's not, they will encourage you and help you along. But it's, just like with the Lakeland when I did my knee, part of me didn't want the embarrassment of having to call mountain rescue out to get me. Yeah. And it was like, if I get to the next aid station, I can stop, get medics to check us out, make sure. Because at that point, I was still working on the principle that maybe I could carry on. I knew in my heart of hearts that maybe that's just my story that I keep going is that I get there to see whether you can or not. It's someone else's decision almost. And it's quite brutal coming down the hill there. But just keep going make it to the next aid station, then you can make a decision. I have a couple of little mantras. I've got just keep swimming from Finding Nemo. That just goes through my head quite a lot. I'm starting to go down to try and catch it beforehand. It's start seeing just keep swimming to myself. And usually quite positive as mentally anyway. And then I've got this little checklist. When I am actually like thinking, this is too much. I need to do it. Am I dead? No. You can make it to the next checklist and the next checkpoint, right? So you can make it to the next checkpoint. Can you make someone after that? There's not a question of these things. I'm not dead. I can keep going. I haven't broken anything. I'm not. I can make it. Can I crawl to it if need be? Yeah. That was that was the new one for me at the Lakeland. Was like, can I crawl there? It's like, yeah, I can crawl there. So keep walking, and if I can't walk, I can crawl.
That's it.
I think humor, like if you pick up anything that makes you chuckle from the community, kind of bank that, because we have to bring humor into the bad situation. I remember on my first Lakeland 50, there's a guy doing the hundreds got his name on his back. It's all the how you do it. It was just he's from Glasgow about it. That was enough to just pick him up and start him on the way out of where his head was at.
That is funny. I have to use it for my next one. I like that checklist that you gave, so I'll probably use that. If it is hard, that am I dead? No. Okay. Then can I crawl? Can I crawl to the?
That's always good start point. I feel like.
Oh God. So right now, when we were talking this thing, like one thing is pretty common with you. It's something about the knees and something about the calf, and it's the injuries that had happened. So, and as
Yeah,
as we were talking about earlier, and I asked you how is your injury, because last time I think when I chatted with you, you said you were going through the injury. So, what was the injury and how did that happen?
in 2023, and because I had so many ultras, and them to get progressively longer, hard. Each one was training for the next one thing, and I picked up a niggle in my knee, and it could just be a niggle. You're doing long runs. You pick up niggles all the time. Most of the time, they work themselves out. My knee didn't get any better, and I had to control it through the races. Run the blades, 50k. I have a weak ankle, and I tore a tendon in my other ankle years ago, and that sometimes, particularly if my gait's not right, move the knee on the other side, it can aggravate. Last 10k of from the blades, I couldn't run. Every time I tried to run, one leg or the other started screaming at me, just hike it out. I'm not exactly sure what point I injured it and to what extent I injured it, but I have a feeling I did an injury, and what the worst was happened, and what I'm in rehab for now is a result of the arc-nutrition out 50 miles, because it's very technical. Trying to catch up some time, jumping from rock to rock, which normal surfers wouldn't be a problem. I think the impact there aggravated the knee. Could be often it's a twisting action that causes the problem. I have a complex torn meniscus. The cartilage in the middle of my joint is detached from where it should be, and I've also got a piece of closer cartilage. There's also a small tear on the other side, but as someone over 40, if you MRI pretty much anyone's knee, you're likely to find some kind of tear on it. That's not, that's too much of an issue. That's probably just that wear and tear as opposed to this injury. I hardly did any running, really. Like I couldn't run more than 30 minutes the lead up to the Lakeland. Gave it a try. My plan was I figured that I could hike being under 16 hours. If you set a good hike pace, I could hike it. So it was hike the first part and then try and run, see what time we got after that. Yeah. And I was on time until I said used L, and my knee twisted as I went down. And although we can't see from the MRI, to do so, the MRI, we can't see from the MRI whether there's any previous damage. But what physio, my knee was loose, but she went to the physio about a month afterwards. So it hadn't healed. So it was loose. So although there's no damage to any of the ligaments and tendons, like long term, like the ACL was loose, and the MCL, it gets aggravated. So not so bad. It's healing really well now, but it's taken a long time to get here. So we started. This was August last year to the physio. So in it, we started treating as if it's a torn ACL, because of the worst case scenario. As far as general rehab, so like with what the physio can do with me. Tried to, she sent a letter to the NHS or GP for the NHS about getting an MRI done. They wouldn't authorise it until I've seen their physio. So they first the NHS physio in Dundee, and then I waited. A week after I decided, sod it, the MRI myself, go private, found somewhere that was inexpensive. I would say cheap, inexpensive. I got the letter to do the physio for the NHS. So I still have to then go through the process, wait for an MRI. And at the moment, so that was February, March, I think. So got the MRI done, had a consultation with their GP. They contacted my GP with all the findings. Went back to the physio, could then, knowing that there wasn't any damage to the tendons and ligaments. And actually, that was the first time where my knee's been pretty stable. I've gone in, so they ramp up to try and it's damaged, but part of the issue now is that my body's, where it's been going on so long, my body's kind of pain adverse. It doesn't want to. He says like desensitizing the joint to a certain extent. It push it, and as long as you recover from it, then hopefully the body will get used to it. Until there's operations, that's complicated. Because if I was in my 20s and fit and healthy, and they do a meniscus repair, which is just stitching it back together, it's got a longer rehab. But it's unlikely in my 40s that they go meniscus repair, they'll just cut out the damaged bit, which means that there'll be instant pain really once the operation's healed. But you're likely to get osteoarthritis in 20 years, 15, 20 years, because as a runner, it's a balance. If I can manage the pain, then is it worth having the operation at this stage? It's still worth seeing a consultant, because at least then on the system that I do have this injury and it is operable. And so it should be quicker next time we go through the situation. But it's been hard, and like, I've started from scratch, basically. Been doing gym work, doing rehab. And right at the beginning, it was dialed it right back. I wasn't allowed to do deadlifts or squats, barbell squats and things. It had to be really low weights and a lot of bad work. It's frustrating. I'm not good at doing kind of low level. I like a good workout. Um, so like from a running perspective, I spend more time in the gym than is optimal for my running, but it means I'm doing a workout that I enjoy more. But yes, there's been a lot of build now, and I had discussed the 5K race to go now. I pushed it. The recovery from that was I'd hoped. Since that, I went on holiday. I did lots of swimming, doing running visits in Barbados. I just got my first run back today, and I can feel it. So I did some run walking just to make sure. First, I don't overdo it, but I can feel it. It's not sore, and I'm not getting. I walk quite a lot of work. So I do 70,000 steps work most days. I'm not getting any discomfort with walking, and I was getting issues where it's getting stiff and driving. But like last week, I drove through Glasgow to a training course, drove back, and so it seems to be on the mend finally. At least going forward, it's looking at it, but making sure it can heal and managing it. Because now I've got London Marathon that I put in for the ballot, got it unexpectedly. So it's very close to me having just done 5K, and not extended beyond that. I'm sure it'll be fine. My training plan is enough buffer if I need to slow down at any point, and I can do. And there's also options. You can have injections if you need various things, but I'd rather not if I can get away with it. If I can manage it I'd like to be in a position where I can manage it for an ultra distance, just run without any intervention. But the options there,
And
if needed.
and that is very tough, right? So when you have this injury, and then like obviously I've been off since last August, and that's almost a month, right? Not a month, year, almost a year. That it's been really
Yeah.
brutal. And what has been the hardest part for you? Because obviously being a runner, I can like sympathize with you, because it's not easy to just sit here and watch everybody run in the Instagram, right? Everybody's running, posting their runs, and
It is what I really feel about the runners high and things. It's not my thing, but it's such a part of who I've become that not running's really hard as well. It's like I could go and cycle and keep my fitness up and things, but I've got no interest in that because I can't run. If I'm running, I can go and cycle. It's not this cross trainer this often, but having it as the only option is really difficult for me to get my head around, because running has the 2 years of my life. It took over my life. I just became an ultra runner. That was it. Every gear towards the next race. It's hard, the motivation, and because I went to the physio, I was expecting it just to previously. I picked up the knee injury in the other knee, and that healed itself in 6 months. I was able to go back running fairly soon, so it's thought a month off and mine settled down. It's first time I had a break, and it's still as bad. So went to see a physio. I was expecting the physio to go, here's a few exercises you do them, and then you can start introducing, and it's difficult. And and there's been lots of ups and downs with feelings about fitness, and there's been times where, although strangely for a runner, I like being in the gym. I enjoy gym work. There's times when, because I've been restricted on what I can do by the physio, not to get back running, the joy of working out's gone as well. So I've had times where I just can't be bothered. I have to sit in the bands at home, do the clamshells, do the bare minimum rather than. Yeah. So motivation's been up and down a lot. You get peaks and troughs. You get in progress, and then something happens. Just like a long car journey or something. Then I'm living for a couple of days. It's a long. Recovery is a long road, and so now I'm very much kind of like evangelical about don't get injured. get in the gym, do strength work. Like everyone can do strength work, but it is important as a runner to get in there, do strength to stop yourself from getting injured or reduce your chance of getting injured.
When you look at it, right? So it's been a long time, almost a year, around a year, right? So
Yeah.
do you take this force reset that you have to go through where you have been recovering from this injury as a curse or as a blessing in disguise? Because, like you said, yes, there are low points because as a runner, we want to run, but then you are now doing these other things that, like you just mentioned, you are doing this strength training that you never did before and going into the gym and
Yeah.
then being happy doing other these things. So, is it a curse or is it a disguise for you? What do you think?
I will come back as a better runner than I would have been, in a year's time, whenever it's I'm back to doing ultra distances. I think I'll be a better runner than had I just continued on the trajectory I was on, because I've tried a few times to dial back and focus more on being more consistent in my running. I'm sure you found in your training block, training for an ultra as opposed to training for a marathon, that you get more comfortable with slowing down, having a walk for a bit. Whereas doing marathon training, it's run. It's constant running, and haven't done so much ultra training. It was very easy for me to go, my heart rate's going into zone 3, but slow down. It almost instinctively kind of synced it. You can obviously try to stay in easy pace. I've tried a few times to dial it back and to focus more on running consistency. But then I get bored because I'd rather go and do a 50K run. I enjoy it. I enjoy these distances and going to place where I'm running doing these distances. So by being forced to come right back and start from scratch, essentially. I was doing minute on, minute off as my first runs, 10 minutes, minute on, minute off. And then when you're recovering from that, it's like they recover from that step up again. And it's forced me to come right back. And I know more about running now than I did when I first started. So I can plan in, I can program in better training schedule as I'm coming up. And I can adjust it to my needs and be fitter when I come. Then I just carry on bubbling along days after the next ultra to see what I can do. That's all it's been. It's like, how far can I go? What am I capable of?
And in that thought, right? So as you are coming here and like in this, you are getting for this next thing. So let's say you are recovering well and then everything clicked, and which would be that next top list that you want to go and conquer?
Finish that definitely want to do Lakeland 100. You've got to either complete the 50 miler in sub 16 or have at least 100K under your belt. So I'm not 100% sure whether it depends how my recovery is. I've got, assuming all goes well, the London Marathon, I can step up into an ultra training plan after that. I'm not sure if I'm confident enough when the that starts, probably September. But I put into the 50 again, or just see how it goes, and then apply for 100K, obviously 50K or something. Apply for 100K somewhere else to build up the other route. But I definitely want to. I want it's be horrible, but I want to do the Lakeland 100. So in my psyche now, I have no unfinished business with the Glasgow to Edinburgh, and I didn't make it. But I'm happy that under better circumstances I was able to do it. I don't feel any need to go back and get that medal and just to say I've done it. But the Lakeland, that's there. I've got to tick that off, and so that's sort of my. Because I'm trying to resist the urge to book for the Ultra X Scotland 50 in May next year, because it's not that big. Like anyone, my opinion is anyone who can do the extra couple of kilometers, extra 8 kilometers to do a 50K. But I don't know what state my knee would be.
I
I'll be advised.
I hear that a lot. Milton says that too. If you can do marathon, you can easily do 50K. If you can do 50K, you can do 100K. If you can do 100K, then you can do 160K. Like,
It's the mindset that I think that I did a 50K before I did a marathon, long before I did a marathon. And I found the marathon harder than the 50K was because there's that pressure, there's constant pressure to run and that thing.
yeah, definitely. Marathon is always
So,
go, 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 go. It's not, it's always about the time, right? You want to get faster.
because you have random members of the public even on a marathon. You want a marathon sort of cheering you on to carry on running. Sort of talk to you a bit and then I'll carry on running.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a different mindset.
It is. It is different. And it is a different strategy to running too, because like I said, in marathon, we're just so time focused. And I think that's why I'm probably enjoying this training block is I don't really care about how fast I'm running because I now never really look at my watch at what is my speed. I'm just running based on my feel and I'm like training based on this power zone. So I'm trying to run as slow as I can because the goal is to throughout all the ultra training that I've done, the goal is to time and feet. So I want to stay out there as long as I can. So, but when I did the marathon, all the runs were like around 5 minutes, 5:10. My whole like big runs, 30 kilometers, I ran in around 6 minute mark or something like that, and which I've never done. Like 7:38 minute mile, I've never run in my life, and in this training block, I'm running super slow because we want to build our endurance. And I've noticed the difference that my heart rate is so low and I'm running. Now it's in like 130s. Like when I do the hills that used to be very difficult in the beginning when I'm running now, like it used to be like 150s. Now it's like 142. So like everything is easier and heart rate is super chill. So I think I see the benefit. And before when I was running for the marathon, like there's this term, run slow to run faster. I never believed that because everybody wants to run faster, right? So there is this belief that you have to run faster to be faster. So that's all we did. But here now I can see the difference that as I ran so slow, then when I was doing the hill training, I noticed that I was running like 5.5 graded hill, like 0.30, 300 meters or something around 434, and which I never did. Even when I was training for my marathon, I never went that speed. So I noticed the endurance was building. So this training block has like I learned a lot, and I think I know what to do for the next.
It's definitely yes. So because I one of my friends much faster than me. She always ran out field, and then she started doing heart rate zones, and because her heart rate always went quite high, and she found that actively bringing her pace down to keep her heart rate, her resting heart rate dropped, and you start to get faster in your easy runs, and it gives you more headroom. Your max heart rate's always going to be max heart rate, but if you can bring your base metabolism down, then you've more to play with. So if you do have particularly steep bit of hill that needs a fast hike up and it peaks your heart rate, it's not going to get right to your max heart rate need, but from that, it's going to let's say it's counterintuitive. It does work.
It does. And like
I do like to run fast.
We all do. And you have done this, right? Cows to 5K, cows to 50K. You went all in from that. So in your personal experience, when you first looked at that cows to 5K and cows to 50K, what's the biggest horseshit you see beginners get sold on this social media about 5 to 50K?
I think kind of anything that's selling stuff. A year or so ago, it was all ice baths. Everyone's got an ice bath. You need ice baths. The data doesn't support it, especially long term. It may be helpful if you're like a footballer or something, you need to get back ready for the next match. Your long-term goals aren't as good. This year, there seems to be an awful lot of people pushing salt supplements, the electrolyte shake tablets and things. Your average runner doing 3 half-hour sessions a week doesn't need salt tablets. It's just you eat. Most people in the West are eating enough to have salt. They eat more than enough salt. Yeah, it's different. If you're out for 12 hours, you're going to need to replenish salt on the run at some point. I always had salt tablets with me because I have blood pressure since I'm 23. I always carry salt tablets because I eat a low salt diet and I'm prone to cramping because of that. And there's a difference between low salt cramp and overexertion. I think half people are taking them because they're pushing themselves harder on race day they've ever done in training. They get overexertion cramps they get. And I think the Goggins mindset, like David Goggins is like the 548 challenge is an amazing challenge to do as far as learning it's in your mind more than physically. Physically, it's not, it is demanded, but it's not that physically demanded by running an ultra. But the getting up every 4 hours through the night, you going out, do you? But this kind of, dear David Goggins is in doing crazy shit that only David Goggins probably do. But what you're not seeing is how he fucked his knee up in a race and had to spend 6 months rehabbing it. And he's not showing you that. All he's showing you is doing really hard stuff. And I think as a beginner, it's easy to get caught up. And it's not just David Goggins, it's a good example. There's lots of people who have far more opportunities for us to start because it's a profession, probably on gear of some sort, and they've got plenty of time to rest between sessions. My recovery is not going to be as good because I've got to do 8-hour shift at work. But you're seeing this kind of, I do hard things and I achieve amazing. I get amazing results from it. You can do it too. And but can we? And what happens when things go wrong? Like I am innate push it as hard as I can in the race. And if I injure myself, then I just have to, but I didn't, until now, I hadn't actually realized what that can entail. And you're seeing these people do things but they're not, and everyone seems to be doing like massive challenges. It's 30 marathons back to back. It's all these things that it's put pressure on people. Most people, it's just, they start running to get a bit fitter and a bit healthier. And they're looking on social media and they're seeing people who are doing extraordinary things. But that's not what most people are doing. Even people in the ultra, that's not what most people are doing. Most people do 1, maybe 2 ultras in a year because it takes that long for your body to really get back to it. My challenge was purposely designed to build up the distances. And I was never running any of them. And I had to fight myself sometimes out on trail. To keep my pace slow is just about completing them. Not because if you want to run for your last race, it takes a long time to recover. So if you're doing 5, 6 ultras in 12 months, then you need to be going slow so your recovery is easier. And it's not, but it seems like it's the norm because what you're seeing on social media and what you're seeing on the telly, people that talk about people running London Marathon dressed in the rhino anymore, that used to be a big thing. I wouldn't want to do it. It's a bloody hard thing to do. But because you've got all these people doing all these crazy endurance things, and it's amazing that they're doing it, but that's all. The way social media is, that's all you're seeing is people doing extreme things when perhaps just going for a run around the parks.
Yeah.
All you really ever want to do.
Yeah. Like it's toxic. And that's what I feel like because everybody wants to be an influencer, and they are doing these insane hard things, and some of them have capability because they have been training for years, right? They have been training for years.
Yeah.
But like we said,
Mm-hmm.
like a normal person cannot always do the things that David Goggins does because He doesn't have to do a regular job. He can sit. He have his
Yeah.
private chef. He has his private gym. He has a private physio. But he gets massaged 5 times a day. He has so many luxuries that we can dream
Yeah. Yeah.
about, and it's not always possible for us to go and do things. Yes, it's nice to push your body and try to see how far you can go, but like you said, if we're not built for it, then that's where the injury happens. And my brother is doing this insane challenge right now. Today is day 23, I think, like 10 miles a day. Yesterday he fainted. He did this 10K, and then he sat in the hot tub, and then it looks like because of the low blood pressure he fainted. And I was like, dude, you're doing so much, you're putting so much pressure on your body. And today I was running with him, and my, like, the inner thighs is like screwed up, and I cannot see him, and I had to catch up to him because he
Yeah.
went earlier than me. And then for some distances, I told him to go run ahead because I want to just walk and run in between, like, those 2 miles. But I ended up running almost the same distance as him. But I always had this fear, like, oh my God, did he fall down or whatever happened? And it's like, it's just
Yeah.
scary, like when,
And if your body, that's a big thing.
yeah.
Yeah, you can do what David Goggins does because he's had years
Oh, yeah.
of SEAL training and someone just coming in, just completing a catch 5K, say, and then tries to do the 4x48 challenge, you run that distance overall. You haven't done it in a day. Then because I did it, I think I'd done 2 ultras at that point where I did it. So I was used. I knew I could do the distance. It was just the sleep deprivation thing. But it's captivating. I saw it fairly early on, and it was like, oh, I'd like to be able to do that. But I wasn't online enough at that point to get caught up in the hype. So I'd take myself away from it. So at that point, I still had my Instagram profile on private. It fascinated me how so many people were interested. I did open up to the public. Yeah, because all it was to me was just waiting for me to keep myself accountable to make sure I did it. The world's interested.
I've never done that, and I don't think I want to do that too because it's I don't think I want to do these challenges. It's fine. I want to go further, and that's how I want to push it because I want to build. It's fun to do challenges, but no, no. And like the next question I've asked to a lot of people, right? And it's a different answers from everybody. Why do you run?
It's because I had a moment at one point when I was doing the 5 ultras. Because I had a kind of running partner that's doing things with me. Had an idea of doing it at fastest no time. That's what she was up to. I was training and trying to keep up with her to help her along on her goal almost as much. It was like I'd lost that why, and it's about me. I'm capable. That's why I run ultras. Not no, I think it's different. Obviously, everyone has why. You should always run your own race, and it should be about you and your race and getting yourself through that. So, and that's I half expected to get the catch 50K and then just call it quits. It's like I've done it. I do it for runners fitness, the gym's open again, kind of thing. I didn't really expect to carry on racing at that point. Leading up to it, I really enjoyed being in a race environment, and then it's just wonder what can the talented people be have done because the Ultrix Scotland is a 2-day event. So your first day is 50 kilometre and then 50 kilometre on the second day. So people doing the 50 just do the 50, doing 410 in 2 days. You've bumped into some people, and these people have already done 60 kilometres they perform. They're still out here, kind of thing. The order is like that, and then it's about see what I can do because I've done things me in the pandemic would never imagine I'd be able to do. Me in my 20s never imagined that. If you'd asked me, I met a guy who'd done marathon disables in my 20s, and I could never do that. And now in my mid 40s, I'm thinking possibly if I rehab, I could do that. Yeah, like you need to give it a try. And That's my thing. There has to be a limit. Human bodies, but I think that it's much more than we think. It's always much more than we think. I think even the people at the top of the game push themselves a bit harder, most probably, and species wise. I'd love to, see in a year's time what we've managed to achieve. You know, half the races that people consider normal now, the ultra community, but weird imagining. I was in my 20s.
Yeah,
It certainly wasn't discussed in the mainstream.
definitely. I talked to Levi. I think he did 300 in the Backer Ultra, and it was incredible. Like I talked to him, and like I was like, how does it feels like when you're the last man around? And he's just like, and why do you do it? And he's like, I just love running. And he did 263 miles and then 300 miles on the Backer Ultra, and that's insane. Backer Ultra is insane. Like people just keep going and going and going. It's interesting that we pushed so much, and we can go so far. Like our human body is amazing because with
Yeah,
the proper training we we do things that are impossible to do. So I was gonna ask you, like, what would you believe, but you already answered that question talking about your younger self, but you would see and do the thing. So right now I have this rapid fire round, so I'll just ask you this random question and you can just answer me with one word, like
yeah.
if what comes to your head. Lakeland 50 or Glasgow to Edinburgh? Which one broke you more?
But obviously the need, but yeah, I think emotionally the Glasgow to Edinburgh what we to lower lows. It's
Bed, best aid snack, bed aid station snack. No debate. Which one is it?
those with olive oil and salt. It's that or possibly the cheese toasties. But as a general, grab something and go. I think that doesn't make.
One ultra you would go again. You do again in a heartbeat. One ultra you would never touch again.
Oh, I think I have. Like if a mate was doing Glasgow to Edinburgh, I'd be willing to do it with him. But I wouldn't sign up on my own for the Glasgow and it's too
Post run, beer, burger, or straight to bed.
burger. Yeah,
Yeah.
had both the South Downs Ultra. That's it's good.
Running in rain or heat.
Rain. Actually, I quite like running in the rain. Good, a nice drizzle. 13 degrees with a drizzle. Perfect running.
True. True. Dream ultra destination if money was not an issue.
I really want to do the Ultra Engineer.
That sounds interesting. And like two things left, right? So first thing, if somebody's listening to you right now and somebody's doing the same thing as you, cows to 5K and then thinking about ahead, what would be one message that you would give to them?
Give it slides. But
Yeah, that's a good advice. And the final question to everybody, I would like you to please finish this sentence. Running has changed my life because
it's showcase.
alrighty. Yeah. And I appreciate this conversation and I'm thankful that you gave me your time and we talked about your running journey and all the injuries that you have through all the races. That's like similar to my story. So I could have relate to you and I was thinking about myself. I was like, oh yeah, it's like some similar to me.
I hope you moment you check video dead.
Oh yeah, that's I'm definitely using that on my next order. I'm putting it down. There are a few conversations that I have picked up from each of the podcasts that like I do, and then the things that I keep in mind. I think the famous one is the Andrew Glaze. Your mom can run 5K. So that's that's the best one. That is the whenever I'm running, that is always in my head. And then there are like you said, like, am I dead yet? No, I think that's gonna be my next one, and I think I'm gonna use that in lot of races and in lot of moment in 3 weeks. So yeah, thank you for that, and I appreciate you taking your time and doing this, and I hope you
Yeah,
get
thanks for having
yeah,
me.
I hope your you're injury free soon, and you can run much further distances. Even though like London is so far away, and I think you can be ready by the time it is done. So
That's it.
yeah, okay. See you next time. Okay, bye bye. Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.